Assault on Precinct 13 is a 1976 American film written, directed, edited, and scored by John Carpenter. It stars Austin Stoker, Darwin Joston, Laurie Zimmer, and Charles Cyphers. And the plot follows a street gang looking for revenge by attacking a police precinct one night before it closes down permanently. So this was John Carpenter's pretty much first post Dark Star film, I think I'll call it. And I don't mean to be unkind to Dark Star. I've just kind of always struggled to really appreciate it, or like I even struggle to kind of consider it a full length or like a feature length film, even though it is. It just feels to me like it feels like what it is, or what I always assumed it was, which was like a short film that got stretched out, far too long, so it could be considered a feature length. But seriously, no disrespect to John Carpenter or Dan O'Bannon, or even you if you're a fan of Dark Star. It's just not for me. Anyways, not here to talk about Dark Star at all. So as we all know, or at least I assume we all do, John Carpenter always wanted to make a Western film. And it's actually kind of sad that he was never really able to. But man, he sure did show his love for, the genre pretty much whenever he felt that it would work. I mean, you could probably argue actually that this Assault on Precinct 13 is a Western film at its core. Like it's at least a Western in disguise. A lot of people actually consider this a horror movie, or like specifically a zombie film, which is kind of an interesting conversation on its own. So I guess it's kind of like a zombieless zombie movie, but mostly it's exactly what Carpenter was hired to make, which was an exploitation film. I definitely see a lot of like Night of the Living Dead influence here, though. I mean, it's a siege movie after all, with a large number of relentless and almost robotic attackers. George Romero himself was actually a fan of this movie, so maybe he saw the influence as well. And the plot here is incredibly simple, as it should be, but with lots of cool little twists and little details that John Carpenter kind of tacked on here. Basically, the police have been at war with a dangerous LA gang, and has just killed some of their members, so the gang basically wants retribution. And man, how they go about it, pretty brutal. That's kind of like the the theme here. This is a brutal ass movie. These dudes are waging all out war on literally like the entire population, not just the police. Beginning with just, regular fucking people. I mean, it's a wild, reckless script, from a young maverick filmmaker, right? There's an infamous scene here where one of the gang members actually shoots and kills a young girl. Which I will add is something that Carpenter said that he probably wouldn't do today, but I get it. It was also a big plot point, too, because it leads to the girl's dad, chasing after the guys before, fleeing to a nearby police precinct, and then just going into like a catatonic state. For what it is, I mean, the writing here is really cool, kind of like I alluded to earlier. So after all that, it literally just turns into a siege movie. Nameless, emotionless attackers with no dialogue, by the way, or very little. I think there's one scene where some of these gang members like say a few words. So yeah, again, the whole zombie thing. So the police station is just completely minimally staffed and minimally armed. I want to say maybe 10 cops and even a small handful of prisoners. There's like 2 or 3 prisoners, I think. And maybe it's just me, but among the different like influences I could pick out here from Carpenter, I also got like a little bit of like 50s, 60s war movie vibes. Maybe it's just me, but the underdogs, the good guys going to war against the faceless baddies. Most of all though, this really is, at its core, a neo-Western. That's, if you were to, dwindle it down to one influence, that's what I would call it, the Western, that Carpenter was never able to make. I really do dig like some classic Western films, but I'm still pretty new to the genre. I don't have a whole ton of experience. I mean, Carpenter's actually said that this was originally supposed to be a very Rio Bravo inspired Western. That was the script that he, wrote before this actually was realized. He put a bunch of old Western references in here, so I'm sure this is an absolute treat for Western fans. Sadly, a lot of these Easter eggs and stuff were kind of lost on me, but I I still very much appreciate them. He also kind of tucked in references to directors like Sergio Leone and Alfred Hitchcock, and yeah, there's just tons of, like I said, little Easter eggs, and I'm all about that. The film also benefits from having at least a handful of interesting characters, like a stubborn, grumpy detective played by Charles Cyphers, or the charming convicted murderer played by Darwin Joston. He's probably the most interesting character here. I really liked the addition. He adds a lot of dynamics to this film. But it's the lead, in my opinion, who takes the cake here, and that is Officer Ethan Bishop, played by Austin Stoker. His story is actually kind of unique. I like it. Since he didn't even typically work at this precinct, he was just put in charge, for the final night before it closes permanently. And he's kind of like this charming, hardworking, blue-collar type cop. And I'm really surprised I wasn't actually more familiar with him because, he really has that movie star, thing going on for him. So I think I'd give, Assault on Precinct 13 a 7.5 out of 10. For me, it does suffer a little bit at times due to some pacing issues, and the whole siege part does kind of drag on a bit, in my opinion. But this movie is fucking cool as hell, though. Showing what John Carpenter could do, and for under $100,000 at that. I liked all of the, stylistic choices and little Easter eggs and stuff like that. I'm just a sucker for those types of things. Like I said, I also liked a few of the characters. But as an action film, this one goes hard, very violent for the 1970s. I'd be surprised if Sam Peckinpah wasn't a huge inspiration on Carpenter here as well. I've never seen him say that, or I've never seen it mentioned in an interview or anything, but I'd be surprised. So yeah, just awesome movie here. Super memorable. I just prefer, John Carpenter as a horror director. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.